This completely changes the way that we view the Broncos. In no doubt their most important game of the regular season to date against a divisional opponent who has held the AFC West crown over the last few years for as long as I can remember, the Broncos took care of business in all facets, got the job done, played efficient, very strong football when it mattered the most, and they got a massive win to improve to 9-2 on the regular season. Not to mention, they've won 8 football games in a row. Yes, you heard me correctly. The Denver Broncos have won 8 football games in a row. We're breaking all things down Denver Broncos football this morning on Broncos Digest after a remarkable win over the Kansas City Chiefs. Thanks for joining us here on the channel. Happy to have you here as usual. Want to remind you guys to make sure that you're subscribed to Broncos Digest. Join the fastest growing, most efficient, consistent source for Denver Broncos news, rumors, updates. You guys know the drill. Hit that subscribe button if you're part of that 92% of viewers. It's completely free to subscribe to Broncos Digest, so why not hit that subscribe button? Make sure that you're locked and loaded for your one-stop shop for Denver Broncos news and football. All right, I want to give myself just a little bit of credit here. I want to turn the clocks back all the way to this game right here. If you're a Broncos fan, if you're an NFL football fan, I don't even need to say it. You guys know exactly what happened here in this game. Broncos lost their first regular season game of the season against the Colts. The next week, they lost against the Chargers. After winning their first game of the season, they went under 500, fell to 1-2. And at that point in the season, on this channel, on this platform, I said, same exact concept as last season. When you have heartbreaking losses like per se last year when the Broncos had that blocked field goal against the Kansas City Chiefs, when you have stuff like that happen, it clicks a switch in the way that you play and the way that you approach these games. It gets you in a different, hungry type of mindset. And I said on this channel, I said, I think we're going to see something just like last year. These 2 losses where you lose in walk-off field goal fashion. It's just what the Broncos needed to go on a tear. And look where we are now. 8 wins in a row later. The Broncos are 9-2. There's that second shot right there of the heartbreaking second loss. But 8 wins later, the Broncos are 9-2, and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that has been all over the AFC West over the last few years, a team that has been to the Super Bowl for consecutive years as of late. And the Broncos took care of business. They got it done when it mattered. It might not have been the prettiest game of football ever. There might have been some questionable calls on both sides of the field, whether that's play calling, officiating, but that doesn't matter. The Broncos got the job done. They had a very efficient drive at the end of the game that didn't have many penalties. It was a real, legitimate football drive where they got down the field, got things done when it needed to be done, and then kicked that game-winning field goal. And they got one of their biggest wins of the season. Got to give a big shout-out to Will Clutch Lutz. I mean, come on, man. Are you kidding me? 5 for 5. Obviously, that chip shot for the win, like he's going to hit that. He's a phenomenal veteran field goal kicker in this league. But the most important kick of the game was that 54-yarder, which is by no means a gimme field goal. Yes, it's in his range. Yes, he's notorious for being able to make those longer field goals, but 54-yarder at a clutch moment in the game, and this guy comes to play. So Will Lutz, once again, I think he's in line for another special teams player of the week after his performance. I personally have him on my fantasy football team. Got me 18 fantasy points. Really, really good stuff from Will Lutz, getting that game winner, 5 for 5 on the day. That is his job, and that is why we're able to win games like that, because when the Broncos can do things offensively and drive down the field but not finish the job in the red zone, 3 points is better than no points, and Will Lutz was able to do that for us 5 different times. So an unreal win for the Denver Broncos. Looking at the Denver passing, Bo Nix, 24 completions for 37 attempts, 295 passing yards, just about a 65% completion rate, averaged about 8 yards per throw. Pretty solid day for Bo Nix. Obviously, the asterisk on there is he didn't throw a single touchdown, but he got the offense downfield into the red zone when it mattered. Need to work on finishing those drives, need to work on getting in the end zone when it counts. The play calling needs to be a little bit better. I think when you have a ton of momentum and you drive all the way down the field and you're in the red zone pushing for a touchdown, a pitch trick play to RJ Harvery where he throws a moon ball to Bo Nix, probably not the best call I've ever seen. By the way, Bo Nix had the best DB play of the game, knocking that ball away. He played like 3 different roles in that one play. First, he's the quarterback, pitches over to RJ Harvery. Now he's a wide receiver. And then all of a sudden he's having to play this role where he has to almost play defense and bat the ball away because he knows darn well he's not catching that ball. Anyways, that's beside the point. But obviously not able to get that passing touchdown, but nevertheless, no interceptions, an 89.4 passer rating. Pretty solid day overall for Bo Nix. And as usual, a lot of that success, a lot of that poise of him playing well in the pocket, playing efficient offense, it comes at the end of the game when it mattered most for the Broncos. And then looking at the rushing, this is an interesting one because this is the first game where we're without our RB1, RJ Harvery, who has been massive for the Broncos. He is a pivotal piece to our offense. He gets really good runs. He finds really efficient gaps, and we didn't have him. And, he had 11 attempts, 30 yards, not obviously the best day, but Bo Nix picked up the slack where it needed to be picked up as far as his offensive production and his passing, which we'll get into some receiving yard stats in just a second here. And then Jaleel McLaughlin, 6 carries, 19 yards, had a touchdown. It was obviously not a super, insane, crazy rushing touchdown, but next man up mentality. He got kind of the call up considering J.K. Dobbins was unavailable, and he's going to be probably the primary RB2 for the rest of the season. So with that in mind, that's obviously very efficient and very exciting for the Broncos. Average 3 yards per carry. So, you could see obviously a decrease in the run game and what the Broncos were able to do on the ground with the ball. But with that said, it was backed up by efficient passing, almost 300 yards on the day for Bo Nix. And then looking at the receiving, Troy Franklin, 84 yards, 4 receptions, good. But if you watch that game, if you were there, any of that kind of stuff, that there was 2 or 3 deep balls where Nix had it on a rope. It was a really good throw, and Franklin wasn't able to reel it in. Franklin was a little concerning for me. But Pat Bryant, man, did he have a phenomenal game. Bo Nix did really well, finding him in good areas of the field, had 82 receiving yards, 5 receptions, and he caught the ball when it mattered, and he got a lot of really clutch first downs for the Broncos. Courtland Sutton, 4 receptions for 59 yards. You're seeing the receiving depth really show in a game like this. Obviously, no touchdowns, but Courtland Sutton on that last game-winning drive where we got all the way down and gave Will Lutz the look at that chip shot game winner. He had that clutch, I think it was 3rd and 15 first down catch where the coverage was tight. You got to reel those in as a wide receiver 1, and he got the job done. Really efficient stuff. Evan Ingram had 33 yards. RJ Harvery had 20 receiving yards. Just a weird situation with RJ Harvery in the sense that he's now the RB1 and playing more of this RB primary role, but he still does a really good job as sort of a receiver, so to say, because he plays that dual threat role. So just really good stuff from the Denver Broncos offense overall. Not a efficient scoring day, but I would say an efficient production day. And you have to find the difference in the fact that when your defense plays the way it does, and you can rely on them to play like that every week, which we're about to talk about the defense and one specific player on the defense, and your offense can get down the field and at least consistently put points on the board, even though it's not touchdowns, that's how you win games. And that's how the Broncos kind of got it done. And that's the reason that they were able to come away with such a huge divisional win. So talking about the defense, pretty significant performance from the Denver Broncos defense. Nothing that we haven't seen already. I heard a really good take the other day about how kind of the style of the Broncos defense is bend, don't break mentality. Like they don't make a difference in the scoring. I mean, they do. Obviously, they don't allow teams like the Chiefs to score. They keep the score low. But you're not like looking at a defense that's constantly getting interceptions and, all that kind of stuff. And you're also looking at a defense that draws a lot of penalties and stuff like that. But they got the job done regardless. A few things I want to touch on. Riley Moss, 2 penalties that were very costly. One of them, completely disagree with. The calls are always a little bit questionable. It's always going to go both ways. It's definitely kind of a weird thing to consider. But for sure, one Riley Moss call where I think I was as shocked as he was. He couldn't believe it. And definitely unfortunate. Jaleel McLaughlin. Are you kidding me? Or excuse me, McMillan is who I'm talking about. McMillan had, one interception, a ridiculously clutch sack at the end of the game, all the way back when the Chiefs were kind of back in their own zone near the end zone. It was 3rd down. The corner blitz was a risky play call from Vance Joseph, and McMillan gets there and he gets a huge sack on Patrick Mahomes. That was a game-changing sack right there, a tie game. Chiefs are trying to make an offensive drive happen. You get that sack, you give us the ball back, and that's when the Broncos were able to drive all the way down and get that chip shot field goal. Another interesting thing that I wanted to touch on as well, not sure if anybody noticed this, let me know in the comments if you did. Talanoa Hufanga does such a good job on the man coverage playing defense, but where are his hands? He had like 2 or 3 looks at an interception where, from my vantage point, the ball was in his hands. He had the opportunity to make the grab and reel it in, but he wasn't able to get that job done. You guys let me know what you think of what that situation is, but I think Talanoa Hufanga had multiple looks at an interception and wasn't able to finish the job in that regard. But nevertheless, our defense came to play when it needed to, and it was just such a strong overall win. There's so much excitement. There's so much to look forward to about this Broncos team because we've talked about it a lot over this channel over the last few days. Everybody's kind of saying, are the Broncos fraudulent? Are the Broncos legit? They've been they've been winning, but it's 1-score games where they win field goals at the end of the day. I feel like if this win doesn't prove that the Broncos are a contender and that they are a legitimate winning team, I don't know what does. You have 8 straight wins. You have back-to-back divisional wins. You just beat the reigning AFC West champion team for as long as I can remember, and you comfortably, and when I say comfortably, look at the standings on the screen right here, you comfortably lead your division heading into a bye week. Not to mention the Chargers really struggling as well. They played an ugly game this last weekend. Justin Herbert's numbers were atrocious. But if this doesn't prove that the Broncos are arguably one of the best teams in football right now, I don't know what does. So a lot of positivities around this Broncos win. They have a bye week. They play the Washington Commanders the following week. They're in a phenomenal spot right now. That game, of course, will be a primetime game, but they get some time to rest and recoup and get ready to go. But I'm feeling phenomenal about this Denver Broncos team. Another thing to think about too, Patrick Surtain hasn't been with the team over the last few weeks. The defense is still producing. They're still generating a lack of scoring opportunities on the other side of the ball for our opponents. When we get him back, our defense is going to be just as strong and just as much of a threat to these opponents that we're playing. Obviously, we're going to be without J.K. Dobbins for the rest of the year, so hopefully the run game can improve and they can look at the film and they can see how they can improve that regard of their game. But if our offense plays the way that they played in the Chiefs game or better, because the way that they played in the Chiefs game, it works, obviously. You want to see him score more touchdowns. You want to see him make bigger plays. You want to see those receivers reel those bigger catches in. But if you see them play like that at a minimum throughout the next games that they have, the sky's the limit for what this team can accomplish. And a lot of people were saying this in the media. As it stands right now, the Broncos have let me put it this way. If the playoffs started today, the Broncos have a bye and then they have home field advantage. That's huge. And things are going to change, obviously. Things are going to happen. Teams are going to get upset wins. Teams are going to lose, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying the Broncos are going to be that team, but other things are going to happen in the AFC West where the picture is going to be different. But right now, the chances of looking at a road to the Super Bowl through the AFC in Denver, those chances are very high. And considering that the Broncos are going to have that home field advantage, there's a legitimate chance that they're going to be a very viable contender in the playoffs this season. So, like I said, Broncos in a phenomenal spot right now. Bye week coming up this weekend. Commanders the week after that. 8 straight wins, a 9-2 record, and they have back-to-back divisional wins against the Raiders and the Chiefs. The Chiefs won, obviously, maybe their biggest win of the season. Thanks so much for tuning in to Broncos Digest. We appreciate your guys' support more than you know. One more time. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. One more time. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's completely free. We're trying to grow this channel as big as we can. Next goal for subscribers is to get to that 2,000 mark. And we're almost there. We're almost to 1,700. And then obviously we just need 300 more. We saw how much we can grow over the last week. It was Chiefs Hate Week. We really leveraged that to get to the growth that we are at. Let's just keep it rolling. Let's just keep it going. Celebrate this win. Enjoy your week. What a great way to start this week. You got a Broncos win in the back of your mind. So exciting. We'll talk to you guys soon here at Broncos Digest. In the meantime, enjoy your week, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.